Hey everybody, I'm Diane Gale and I am the author of the blog sustainableslowliving.com, and today you and I are going to make cast iron skillet cinnamon rolls together. This is a great recipe. It's perfect for a lazy winter afternoon that you just want to spend in your kitchen making a nice sweet treat. It is a sweet treat. Not super healthy for you, but it's good old-fashioned comfort food. There's a nostalgia attached to it from my childhood, and I love making it. It makes a decent sized batch. I usually have one for myself and share the rest with friends and family, or just, take it to work and spread the love there, which is actually one of the great things about the recipe. It does use quite a few ingredients, but they're all very common ingredients, so it's not really a big deal. You can usually just pull them out of your pantry and put this together. So we're going to start by mixing all of our ingredients except for our flour and our salt. And this is, we're making the dough. Obviously we're starting by making the dough. So I am actually going to take, I had this flour in here for pictures. There's 3 cups of flour in here. I'm going to take and put it in this bigger bowl so that I can use the small bowl to blend the other ingredients in. And then I have half a teaspoon of salt, and I might as well just toss that right in there too, because that is going to get blended together with a whisk. So for the other ingredients, I have 1 cup of half and half, and this is at room temperature. You don't need to warm your half and half, because we're going to use a packet of rapid rise yeast, and rapid rise yeast does not need to be bloomed. So we're throwing that in there. We're going to throw in an egg. We're going to throw in a 1/4 cup of sugar. We're going to throw in a 1/3 cup of butter and 1½ teaspoons of vanilla. And then I'm just going to take my blender and I'm going to blend this together, maybe about 2 minutes. So I've got that blended up. The idea here is to blend that to cream your butter and your egg and your half and half together. Your butter, your egg, and your half and half should all be at room temperature. You don't want anything cold because it could potentially deactivate that yeast. And then I have whisked together our flour and our salt. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to blend the 2 of these together. So I'm just going to take and I'm going to start pouring this in here a little bit at a time, mixing it up. And then once I have the majority of the flour incorporated, I'm just going to go ahead and get my hands involved. We're going to take this out of this bowl and we're going to knead it, but I want to get that last little bit of flour from the bottom of the bowl. And then I'm just going to take and flour this countertop. At this point you've got a nice shaggy dough. And what you need to make a good cinnamon roll is you need a nice, smooth, elastic dough. So it should take about, maybe 6 to 8 minutes to turn this into a nice, smooth, elastic dough. I am going to work on that, and once I've accomplished it, I'll be back. It took me about 8 minutes to get this to where I wanted it to be, and there are a few things that I want to tell you. The first thing is your flour, your yeast, and your butter are the keys to getting that fluffy cinnamon roll that we all love so much. You need to use bread flour for this. I hope I didn't say white all-purpose. I did try to cheat and use that making this video yesterday, and you will never see that video because it totally didn't work. You need to have bread flour. The rapid rise yeast for me works so much better. I don't know what it is about those instant dry yeast packets, active dry yeast packets is what I want to say. They never work for me. I used to buy my yeast in bulk from the Amish, and it was fabulous. I haven't found it in bulk here. I should probably just order it online, but rapid rise is what works for me. So bread flour, rapid rise yeast, and room temperature butter is what you need. And after I kneaded this for about 8 minutes, I just put it in this bowl and set it aside. And you need to let it rest for about 10 minutes. Now, I was taking pictures, so it had plenty of time to do that. But right now we're going to put together the filling for the cinnamon rolls. And I took 6 tablespoons of butter. I microwaved them ever so slightly just because apparently it was a little cold in here this morning. My room temperature stuff is a little chilly. Room temperature should work just fine for you. And then I have 3/4 cup of brown sugar. If you have dark brown sugar, it's really fabulous in this recipe, but I don't have it, so we're just going to use regular brown. I have 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon, and cinnamon, of course, is what cinnamon rolls are all about. And I have 3/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And I'm just going to mix these all together. Now, alternatively, you can just spread these right on your dough. When you roll your dough out, you put your butter on, and then you can just spread these individually on there. Personally, because of the fact that brown sugar clumps, and I like everything to be a little bit more evenly distributed, I put them in a bowl and I mix them together. So I'm bringing you in a little bit closer for this next step because I want you to be able to see. We're going to take this dough and I'm going to start to shape it into a rectangle, and then we're going to roll it out. Our goal here is to get a 12 by 18 inch rectangle, and if you just keep working with the dough, you'll get there. So there we go. That's about 12 by 18 inches. And then this is where we're going to get our hands in. You're going to take your 6 tablespoons of butter and just slap them right on there and spread them around. And then I took and washed and dried my hands, and you're just going to take your brown sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg mixture and distribute it as evenly as you can across the top of your dough. Okay, you guys, we are getting there. So we're going to take this, let's go from this end, and we are going to roll it up like, you know, a cinnamon roll. And there we go. I like to cut my ends off. I don't know how many people really do that. We're going to cut this in 10 pieces. Here we have a cast iron skillet that is, it is greased. And I am going to take these and set them out in this skillet. I guess I'm not going to put all of them in there because I want them to have room to rise. If you get them too tight, the centers will pop up out of them when they rise and when they're baking, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space. I'm going to cover this and I'm going to put it in a warm place to let it rise until these are doubled. So I'm thinking an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then we're going to put them in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes maybe. I will fill you in on the details when I come back. I will be back with fresh baked cinnamon rolls, and while they're cooling, we're gonna make an icing to go on top. If you want all of your rolls to fit in your cast iron skillet, which I'm sure you do, I would have liked for that to be the case. I don't usually make these in a cast iron skillet. I shouldn't say I don't usually, I should say I've never. So I wasn't sure what was going to fit, but you can just, it looks like you're gonna get about 9 rolls in there. I would just divide my dough up and cut it in 9 equal sections. Your cinnamon rolls will be just ever so slightly thicker, and that's fine. But you can get them all in one pan by doing that. Like I said, I've never done them in a cast iron skillet before, so it didn't work out that way for me today. So you guys, here they are. Gorgeous cast iron skillet cinnamon rolls. I'm not gonna lie, I left them in a few minutes too long. They're a little darker than I would have liked them to be, but I have tasted one that I didn't cook on the skillet. I took that extra one that I had, and I took a piece of tin foil and I rubbed a little bit of oil on it and I plopped that on there and I let it rise with the others, and then I baked it like that, and it worked really well. So if you end up with the same problem that I had where you have an extra one, you can do that. It took about an hour for it to rise, and at 350 I baked this for 20 minutes. I really would have done maybe 15 to 17 minutes when I do it again in the skillet. So that way you know your baking temp and your times and your rising time. But what we need to do now, I'm letting this sit here to cool down. I want to let it cool down for probably a good 15 or 20 minutes. It's already been out of the oven for close to that long because I have been doing things to take pictures for icing, etc. And that is what we are going to do right now. We are going to make the icing to go on the top of these. So you want room temperature cream cheese and room temperature butter. Again, because it is a little bit chilly in here today, room temperature for me was not soft enough. So I did microwave these like minimally for 10 seconds for each of them, just so that they would be a little bit softer. So I have 4 ounces of cream cheese here, and I have 4 tablespoons of butter. And then I have 2 tablespoons of half and half, and I have 1 cup of confectionery sugar. And I'm just going to put all of that in this bowl, and then I'm going to beat it on about a medium speed until it is smooth and creamy and ready to ice my cinnamon rolls. So low speed is a little more like it if you don't want that confectionery sugar to go flying all over the place. But you can see that this is nice and creamy. It's a beautiful texture for the top of these cinnamon rolls. And here they are. So they have cooled off quite a bit. We're just going to take this icing and just smooth it a little bit on each one of them, or maybe a lot on each one of them. A lot of the recipes out there don't do the cream cheese in the icing. I love the cream cheese in my icing. I think it kind of makes the whole dish. Oh my gosh, just look at that, huh? That is some pure, pure, pure goodness right there. There it is, you guys. Pure cinnamon roll, a deliciousness. I am so excited to dive into this. I know you've heard me say many times that I'm not a big fan of sweet treats. I don't crave them very often. I also know you heard me say earlier in this video that I have been looking forward to this because there's a nostalgia with it connected to my childhood. With a failed recipe yesterday and some taste testing, and taste testing before on that extra cinnamon roll that I did on the tin foil, I'm a little bit sweet treat satiated. But I think I'm going to trooper through getting a bite or 2 of this with you so that we can try it together. because that's kind of what I do. It just looks so incredibly amazing. And the aroma that fills the kitchen is wonderful. That is some pure cinnamon roll heaven right there. Not even kidding. One more bite with all of the cinnamon, and then I am going to head off to get some pictures for the blog. The cream cheese just makes it, you guys. So good. Definitely make sure that you get a bite when you first ice them and they're still slightly warm. If you can serve them to friends and family at that time, go for it. It's a great time to do that. There are tips and tricks and serving suggestions and variations for this recipe over on the blog, and as always, the link for that is down below, so you can go and check that out if you are so inclined. I hope you're going to make some of these for yourself, for your friends, for your family, and I hope you're going to enjoy every bite. And as always, I am so glad that you're here with me today. You and I are going to get together again, and we are going to do it really soon.